Today on the Social Studies Show, we're digging into how culture, creativity, and commerce intersect inside experiential marketing, gaming, music, and action sports. Our guest, Bryan Reid, has spent 15 years shaping global brand movements like Call of Duty, Adidas, Burton, Xbox, Pretty Lights, Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and more. Bryan's career is rooted in building experiences that move culture forward. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so the first thing, let's start from the beginning. Before the big brand activations and global tours, who was Bryan before all this, and what shaped your early approach to work and creativity?
Ooh, who was Bryan? A lost soul. Slightly a lost soul. I grew up in New England, born and raised, Rhode Island, jumped around through a few other spots. And as a kid, I always had this innate curiosity, just being creative, but that was labeled as, one, a strong case of ADHD, and two, not having a clearly driven path. So it took me a while to get to that path. And, I did the foray of listening to what my Guyanese parents said when I was in high school. They're like, you got to go to college right afterwards. And I thought, okay, cool, I'll go to college. And I went to college, Plymouth State University, New Hampshire, without really a clear direction, just because it felt like what society wanted me to do. So I went there with no real path besides making friends and snowboarding at the time. And then I quite fast realized that this was not the place for me. So then after a harsh year of not performing well in academia, I went out into the real world. And then that's where my career kind of began, because I went straight into a path of wanting to do more and more with snowboarding, and got involved in a opportunity abroad with the Swatch Ticket to Ride that was known at the time, but then became the World Snowboard Tour.
All right.
Yeah.
So I guess when you're talking about that, you're talking about nonlinear path and figuring it out, what happened with those years between Plymouth State and Columbia College in Chicago?
Those years were me exploring multiple different avenues. It said I got into web development and building websites, which then got me the job at the Swatch Ticket to Ride, because I was their webmaster, building out what then was blogging at the time, and social media presence. And exploring,
pre-Instagram.
Yes, pre-Instagram, almost like right at the start of Facebook pages. And I was like, oh, there's like a brand identity that could be told here. And I explored that. Then after that period, I came back to the States because I was abroad at the time. And then I got into finance, where I worked at a brokerage firm in the marketing department. And I got to learn the most traditional sense of the word marketing. But it also was the most basic form of it. It was like, how can we reach people with mailers and emails? And I was like, this is good to know. There's a sense of like a financial institution and structures, but then I was like, something is killing me and my soul on the inside of having to wear a suit to work every single day.
I'm trying to imagine you in a suit while you're rocking these shorts and Nikes today.
Exactly. This was not, I could never.
It was not your style.
Not
your
my
vibe.
style. And,
okay.
And yeah, that's when I really kind of got into my creative juices flowing, because the good thing about being in Europe and being a part of the snowboard tour is it showed me so much about music, because I got to see all these DJs and performers at all these snowboard events that we would do, and be like, okay, there's something here. And I feel like music has always been a outlet for me, a creative passion, just because it's been a part of my life. My parents had myself and my sister listening to music at such a young age. All the stuff from Motown to I got into my little rock, like alt rock era, and then rap was in the household. So I was like, I feel like I could talk about music, and since I'd been just running a blog for so long, I feel like I could just do that with music.
Okay, you've moved between action sports, music, gaming, agencies, and brand marketing. What helped you navigate such difficult industries or different industries successfully?
Always having a curiosity to learn. Like, the cool thing about the interesting thing about my path is that, I came in at pretty much the ground level, especially with the advent of social media and this new social media and new ways of having communications with people, I was just like, there are things at play here that are innovative, and my curiosity to just stay ahead, if not just soak up everything I needed to know, kept me going. Like, the TTR was like a good thing just because it was like, cool, I got to be in snowboarding, but I also got to like work, as I was saying, with Facebook at like its most raw setting, and then it went into Instagram where there was no algorithm. It was like you could actually connect with your friends. Then it was blogging because like anybody could have a voice, and I got to express my voice. So all these things, and then once that got me into the music industry, and then from the music industry, once I started doing quite well in it and started partnering with different artists, then I was like, oh, let me then start paying attention to where the money is flowing here. Like, I started working with all these brands, and I was like, the money's coming from the brands, and I have a connection to all the music or fashion, sports, entertainment, and I was like, I am now, as they would call it back in the day, a tastemaker of sorts, because I have all these connections, and I was like, I can bring this to an agency, because I'm not gonna lie, most people at brands aren't really that hip to what's going on. Very few are, so they look for people at agencies or people like me to be like, what's cool? Who can we align our brand with and build a strong connection, if not a story, to build a partnership around? And I was that voice for different brands, and it all started with Anheuser-Busch doing a campaign called Whatever USA, and then worked its way up to Xbox, did some work with Kanye and Travis Scott when Travis Scott was just doing like the Birds in the Trap singing Brian McKnight. I think that was the EP or album that he did.
We don't talk about Brian McKnight around here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Brian McKnight's a lovely person.
Obviously, you have not read about his latest thing with him and his kids, but that's another. That's for another podcast.
Sorry, Brian. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's cut that out. But yeah, I just became that person, and it helped me just to be able to navigate and build connections with all these people. Like, whether it would be managers, agents, people on the brand team, but then it was like brand creative. Then I've just been very fortunate to just be in different rooms and be able to speak articulately about what's going on and what can help a brand.
So I have two questions for me from that, right? Was there one transferable skill that always translated? And I don't know if that's necessarily being able to spot what's going to make a difference within the consumer or people, as far as like purchasing in communities like that, what like moves the needle for people, right? Consumers. And then being able to translate that to your relationships.
Yeah.
So how would you say, like, what was that skill, and then how did you use it to like achieve more success?
One, having my finger on the pulse of what was going on in current pop culture and be able to apply it to whatever brand or client that I would work with. And two, I would just say being open and networking and building relationships with people and connections with people, both in URL and in IRL. Because a lot of my what I did back at the time was all URL. Like, the blog was just my voice being able to connect with an unlimited amount of people and me networking that voice. But then I could also back that up in real life. In real life, when I got to meet these people, like, so many times it still happens to this day that I have known people for 10 some odd years and never met, and then when they meet me, they're like, you're exactly how you presented yourself online. And I find that a very strong and rare thing, because not a lot of people can do that, and not a lot of people can live that authenticity of what they are talking about.
I was going to say, authentic is kind of an overused word right now, but like, it's funny to kind of see that, because I think that's kind of the way like that, like, you're like super fun loving, kind of almost like, I don't know, like, how can I put it, like, it's just like Captain Good Times on the internet. Like, it's like literally you're having just like a good time wherever you're going, kind of thing like that. And so if you're looking at that and translating that with brands, right, I want to see, like, okay, how does that persona, like, let's just use this for example. You've led over 40 plus global events at Activision with budgets and huge media value. How do you translate that from where you are as a person to executing that across a team on worldwide brands?
Ooh, good question.
Because you got to keep that continuity.
Yeah, you do, and you got especially on the brand side, you got to be able to work with a lot of cross a lot of personalities across a lot of different departments. It's true what you hear that like there's a lot of red tape going from within behind the brand spectrum, and it's you being able to be assertive in a way and be like, I'm trying to think of this as the best case or cause for this reason why I'm fighting for this inclusion or this creativity so much, and that once you build a relationship with people, especially on the brand side, and your partners that you're working with, your teammates that you're working with, then they understand and then can value what you're doing and what you're saying and why you're fighting for it. And there's a lot of trust that goes into that. There's a lot of relationship building that goes a long way. So that way people are now, they're like, we know that you know what you're talking about. You've proven to know what
so
you're
here's
talking
what I want to get into from there. I want to get into specificity. Can you tell me a case study of where that's worked for you, and then a case study where it failed on you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'll go with what worked for me.
Okay.
So earlier
Well, both. I want to hear both.
Right. So earlier this year, I did the relaunch of Tony Hawk Pro Skater over at Activision. It was a remake of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. And when I got the notice from our studio that was happening, I was like, I know skateboarding like the back of my hand. It's what skateboarding before snowboarding got me into action sports. It got me into my love of like being creative. When at a time in the 90s where it was like me as a black person going skateboarding, it was like, you're doing some white boy shit. And I'd be like, I heard that from so many people, and I'm like, nah, but this is what I love. Like, why would you say this to somebody for saying that about something that they love? So when I got the opportunity to know that this was coming 2 years in advance, I was like, I wrote out a whole brief and presentation of this is where I'm going to be able to bring my passion and my authentic self to bring this to what we're doing. I'm going to be able to work with the skaters. I'm going to be able to talk to the music side of things and what we should bring back from the original games and what we should include that's new. Brand partners, and then building out an experience that then became Tony Hawk Pro Skater Fest that we had a partnership with AG Golden Voice to do, and that was me based off relationship with them going, oh, we actually get to do something with music? Like, this would be the perfect partner to do something with, because they are, I'm going to say, goated in that music space. So, and it just, like, was a cascading effect of, like, we locked in perfect partners, we got the skaters involved, we got the brand partners involved, we got visibility, we got support, and, you know, this, like, action sports doesn't get that much, like, they don't get $1 million budget to go do an event.
No.
They don't. That's rare. And I had the backing of tech to do it, and it turned out to be one of the most fulfilling projects I've ever done. But also, and I got to see from like a global impact, like the results of like bringing all these different collectives and collaborators together to build something so strong into us launching the game. A time that wasn't the case and didn't work out. I have one. I'm gonna.
The names and places will be changed.
Yeah, the names and chases. But there's a project that I was working on, where we were ideating on an idea of doing an event for Call of Duty in like my first, let's say, 2 years of working there, and what we had originally pitched was an immaculate project. Let's just say that. An immaculate project of bringing both community together, the content creators, and bringing a strong bolstering for the IP as we were doing this relaunch. And after many rounds of bringing in these ideas and bringing in these partners and working with the teams, and we were like, oh yeah, we're set up for success. I did this pitch, and then after this pitch, everyone was like, nah, like we're not going in that direction. And I was like, okay. Like, I think we're missing out on a big opportunity here, but I just gonna say that. And then it took 3 years. 3 years until someone was like, brought the project back up, and they're like, did someone talk about this? And I was like, me. I talked about this 3 years ago, and now it's completely changed, and you're gonna need even more to do this. But it just it taught me a valuable lesson. I'm like. Even though that was an L for a few years on that, it then did come back around in a way to make it a good strong case.
So if you're looking at this, and I think you're talking to like youth growing up and things like that, I think what I see here is like a strong thing of perseverance and like holding on to a good idea. How do you equate that to someone who's maybe just starting, of like how to hold on to their good ideas, and maybe if it doesn't succeed the first time around,
Yep.
to be able to keep on bringing it back up and keep on bringing it back and developing it, keep on bringing it back up, and then looking for the right partners to execute later on.
Yeah, definitely hold on to your ideas. Like, I can't stress that enough, because you never know whether you're pitching it to a brand that you're still working with or a completely different brand or client that you're working with, that idea might work elsewhere. And don't give up. If someone says no, you're like, okay, it's no for here or no for this group of people, but this could be a yes somewhere else. And you can take that, like, hold on to those your ideas, like, and bring them up when you see the opportunity to do so, because I feel like everything can become a yes in a different set or a different room of people. So you just got to be patient. You got to see the opportunity where your idea can fit in, and maybe by that point in time you can then adapt your idea to make it make sense for who you're pitching it to. So then you're going to be able to gain more knowledge about how you can mold that idea into something even better over that time period.
Okay, I love that. Yeah. So within this, you've lived inside multiple cultural ecosystems. How did each one shape or challenge you? And so mainly I'm kind of talking about action sports, music entertainment, brand agency, and video gaming and tech. Like, those are all so very different, but you've kind of been able to connect them in a very weird, esocentric type of way.
I mean, action sports is like one of the biggest bouts of creativity, because most of it is based on you're by yourself figuring stuff out and throwing stuff against the wall repetitively, and I feel like you take more, I don't like to say the word fail, but like, like trying a trick.
Yeah.
Like trying a trick, you just try a trick, you don't get it, and then that one time you get it, you're like, yes, I did it. So that right there taught me about perseverance and sticking true to learn so many things between skateboarding and snowboarding. It's just the perseverance of you figuring things out creatively. Then transitioning over to music entertainment. I mean, the music industry and the entertainment industry is just like, I came in not from like the cool thing about music is that you don't have to have like a formal education in it to work in the industry. You could just have a passion for it. But you start out at like this entry-level bass model. And then for the people that I have found that are the most successful people in the industry is like you start soaking up different things. Like I had one job of like just doing the music curation for a website and owning one of the largest SoundCloud accounts when SoundCloud was a thing on the whole platform, and curating that to then like, oh, social media. Someone had me learn how to do social media and market. Then it was like learning how to do PR and do like press runs for music tours and festival announcements, and then just like soaking up all the things. Like I would say that some people in music and entertainment are the best Swiss Army knives, because you could throw them into anything and they could figure things out, and that like helped me to start figuring out how all this works. If not, what are the connections and parallels outside of this that are transferable? Then when I made my move over to brands, working with brands on the agency side, it was taking everything I learned from the perseverance aspect of action sports and the Swiss Army-ness of the music industry, and being like, okay, like I was very fortunate that I worked with nothing but like Fortune 500 company and pitching incredible brand work, but then being like, how can we get the best dollar or use your dollars in the best way to build these fantastical, immersive experiences for consumers, where the KPI really is about brand sentiment and how to bring brand awareness and loyalty, and not so much tied to like, we're pushing tickets or we're pushing that. It's like, how can we build these experiences and build kind of like bits of theater in various ways, because that's what experiential marketing is. It's, if you do it well, it's like theater. It's like a play, and there's acts, and there's all these different things that you could build in, which touches all the senses. And If you do it poorly, it's like you might have a massive budget, but you did nothing to build any brand awareness. You did nothing to really build any brand loyalty, and you just did an event that people are gonna be like, okay, well, that was cool, but it's easily forgotten. So, and it was just like then understanding the different ways that an agency works with a brand, and then seeing the background of like what happens on the agency side to what happens on the brand side. And now that I've been in both worlds, you see like, oh, I understand when I have asked for the agency that I have to like, I understand what we're asking might be a lot, but like, I understand it, and let's just be transparent in communication and deliverables, and you tell me if like what I'm asking is going to be more than what we're budgeted for, and if it is more, how much more, and if we do go that route, then what are the things that we are sacrificing along the way? Then on the brand side, it's like you have a budget, but you can then take that and go back and be like, all right, if we want this A thing to happen or this B thing to happen, what are the costs associated with that, and what is the overall reasoning why we're pitching for that? And that's got to go up its own chain of getting internal buy-in from so many people, but you have to be persistent because like there's people. I'll say it. There's people out there that like also are just like, I'm just here to collect a check, and I'm happy to be in this position, and I'm trying to do as little work as possible to get it. So I'm not really here fighting for things.
So then, how do you like? Here's my whole thing about that. Then, how do you implement passion into procedure then with those people? Because like they're living for something, right?
Yes.
And so if they're like there and they're trying to get that check, then how do you create that passion for them to go and implement the procedure to get what you need?
That's where the relationship building comes in. Because then you understand how to communicate them to get what you want out of the situation. Like you understand what gets them excited, what gets them going to make that yes, to make that more of a yes and build the case for the yes. And though a no still might happen, a no still could very much still happen, but at least you went and explained it to them, and then what you also do is you bring others along for visibility setting. So if like that person still say no and somebody else is like, Brian, that's a good idea, we should do that, and I will find another way for us to do that and add stuff into it. But like
You start adding the herd mentality.
exactly, you start bringing the people along for the ride, because working in silos, though can to some degrees get you far, it's not going to get you across the line without there being a disconnect along the way, and that's when disconnect and assumptions start taking place, and that's what you don't want to start doing and building.
So, two things from that. One, I'd like to see how this all intertwines with video gaming and tech, because obviously working on Call of Duty, you're dealing with tech, video gaming, and then obviously from the marketing standpoint, you're dealing with musicians. So I'd like to hear that, and then from there, I'll let you take that one, and I'll have the next question for you.
Okay.
Because I'm going to hold that.
I mean, the cool thing about the gaming industry in itself is that, yes, to what Stan said, it's tech. It's tech, but it's like the fun side of tech. It's like the community side of tech, where like we do have a tech product, but like you get to talk to the consumer in a unique way outside of tech, where it's not just like, here's some software, or here's like this device. Like this is a game per se that you get to, well, Call of Duty, you get to immerse yourself in that environment. And that environment comes with you immersing yourself in that community because you play that game online. And how I got introduced to gaming as a kid is that like, cool, I got to go to like my cousin's house in New York and play all these games that I definitely had no business playing some of these games because they were rated way above what my age was. But then I'm like, you get to go to like a friend's house and build this experience with them. And then you get to, and then now a lot of people just, I mean, for the most part, people don't do like LAN parties anymore. They're like, they sit at their home, they have a headset, and they're talking to random people across. So that's one of the most unique things about gaming is that the community is unlimited and vast, and it's how you create stories around that that's like the most beautiful thing. Now, the cool thing is that like it can, with our game and many other games, it touches the things that I'm also so passionate about, like music, it's sports, pop culture in a sense. Like it has those creative touch points, which that you could still build off these storylines for it. And with the coming up of like content creators and streamers and whatnot, we are, like, most of my job is leaning into those, like, content creators, streamers, celebrities, celebrity athletes, press, journalists, and building these environments for them because they get to take their platform and tell our story. We get to bring those few people together to then share on their platform to reach millions of people. And that's like the cool thing is like what makes good content for them?
Yeah.
What makes a good story for them? And how's that going to translate to them sharing their viewpoint of how this has positively affected their lives or their circumstances and how this is built all around that.
Well, it's cool because you get to all of a sudden take them and immerse them in your world.
Correct.
And so I think that's the whole end goal,
Yep.
per se, right there. So my next question on that then is, what's a project that you're most proud of?
Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Okay.
THPS Fest. Because like I said, skateboarding, action sports, like bringing that back into the cycle and having studio support, the skaters that we got to bring in, like the skaters, like we got to work with all the original skaters, and then we got to work with a new cast of skaters like Jamie Foy, Zion Wright, Nora Vasconcelos. There's a handful of others, I can't remember the full list. Yeah. But like bringing them into that world and with a historic franchise of that, plus like Tony, like one of the nicest human beings on earth, especially for someone that's been doing it for as long as he's been doing it, and how involved he was, how receptive for ideas he was, like, and just being an absolute steward and ambassador for not just skateboard culture, but just like how to be a person who's in his 50s still finding the joy in skateboarding and talking about skateboarding and doing this through a game that came out 20 some odd years ago, and you're like, you are still you're still the guy. Like, you are still the guy.
That's awesome.
Doing this. Like, and then it was just also cool because then I got to work with friends on the project as well. Like, I got to bring in Tiba. Tiba got to shoot, who's done the photography for it forever, but he was involved. Got to work with Slemma, who got to do the hosting of THPS Fest, and just from a broadcast standpoint, I was like, he's the guy that I want to be doing the broadcasting. He has to be there. Like, has to. And then all these people from behind the scenes, I was like, oh, I got to work with just like so many people in skateboarding that I never thought I don't even think never, but I was like, it's going to be hard for me to have a connection point with them. And then this got to serve as that connection point. And seeing the amount of people that came that were involved with the game or weren't even involved with the game, but how the game touched their lives and impacted their trajectory, both in skateboarding and outside of skateboarding, was just like truly, it was the cool thing about Experiential now. I didn't get to touch on this before, but let's say the biggest thing that I've seen pre-pandemic and what we're living in now is that how Experiential used to be, like you had to be in the room to experience it. It was like that FOMO factor. Like if you were there, great, but if you weren't there, you didn't get to see what's going on. But now how it's adapted now is that like brands, if not people, you can no longer really do that. You got to create a content story outside of that. So what happens in the room, yes, you have to make sure it's an incredible experience, but if you're doing a streaming or broadcasting standpoint, you have to also make it go outside of the room and get people engaged, and not just by putting a camera up in the corner being like, this is what's going on. It's like, what are the hosts doing on there? What are the things that are going to drive more community engagement for people that are watching? What are the surprise and delights that are happening on that broadcast to get people excited and engaged and continuing the conversation so they are be able to participate more at home? And that right there was...
So what are the things about that you are liking seeing from someone that maybe you aren't working with, like from a Kai Cenat or like a Mr. Beast angle? Like, what are the things that you see that like, okay, this is what they're doing right, and like how they're...
I mean, surprise drop-ins. Like, Kai is like fantastic about that. Like, he has Mafia-thon, right? Every single day he has a new person coming in, and he has like LeBron coming in, he has Kevin Hart, he has Drewski, but like those things are added on, plus he's able to bring people in to be like, oh my gosh, like Kai is in a room with a hibachi chef in the background cooking them food, and just like, that's a random thing happening, but they're able to build awesome content around it. Kai is out there doing a basketball tournament or going out in the world and engaging with his community. So the community now can have a chance to be literally in the stream. Like Mr. Beast does a fantastic job because like he's promoting his products on his stream. So it's just like he's monetizing the stream and he's getting people to purchase into his product cycle, which is just like the man is insane. And it's all these other content creators that are coming up with awesome ways to do their streams. So it's not just like you sitting there talking to them, like they're bringing you closer into their world, and you actually feel like you're a part of it. Like, and they're doing it in these unique and immersive and engaging ways that continuously just generate buzz.
Okay, so I'm going to switch gears here for a little bit, right?
Let's do it.
So as a person who honestly, self-admittedly, loves to get outside and do things and go snowboarding, hiking, biking, walk your dog, camping, things like that, right?
Yeah.
Where do you find the dichotomy between sitting inside and doing the streaming and the video games and that, and the balance of actually like going and being outside, touching grass?
I touch grass a lot. As I've had this conversation at work that like it behooves me to be outside more than me being inside because, like I said, relationship building, seeing what else is going on for research. Like I had like this. I made this challenge with myself. I didn't even communicate it until after it was done. But like I kind of spent a lot of time after Tony Hawk inside because I was just like drained from being outside for 5 months doing the promotion and building this event that I was like, I kind of like am inside. I think I saw you on that when we went and did the Santa Monica Pier. Yeah. Then I was like inside for like a month or so afterwards. It's like, I just need to decompress. So I kind of made this challenge with myself. I was like, September is coming up. I feel like I need to get these feet outside and start doing some things outside. And I was like, I want to hit 30 events in 30 days. I'm just gonna like try to see because there's like things lining up that I was like, okay, let's just see how far this goes. I didn't make it to 30 events. I did 24, and I was out almost every single night, doing different things. Like I went to like art galleries, I went to music shows, I did meetups with friends. I went to other gaming events. I went to non-gaming event things like movie premieres and Q&A panels. And I just like, oh, wow, like this. And then from there, I was just like, I get to see what other people are doing and figure out how that could either track back into what I'm doing to enhance the work that I want to be doing next year. And it really
opened your eyes.
It really opened my eyes. It was exhausting. I still feel like this holiday season, I'm literally back inside for the next 2 weeks. I just canceled my trips to go to the mountains. I'm like, I need to stay inside and just relax.
So here's what leads me to the next question, though, so what does it take for brands to show up authentically in culture?
Oh.
What'd you learn from that from your project?
Yep.
I'd actually like to talk about that in respect to Complex Con, because you just got back from that.
Yep.
And then your 30-day challenge.
Ooh. How brands can authentically show up in the culture is, all right, because we're getting like a lot of like collab business right now. Like collaborations are off the, like wilder than I've ever seen it. Like I've ever seen it. Like, because anybody can do a collab and they're like, oh, I think we're going to like, people want to do this collab, and I'm like, what's the reason why? Why do you want to do the collab? Why? Because do you want to do this because you're promoting a product, or do you want to seem like you're touching this new market, which is like Gen Alpha, Gen Z? But how are you doing it? And you just think that you just did like this brand collab with this brand, and this is going to be great. And I'm like, that's not going to move the needle. Like, how you move the needle is, one, does the person that you want to collaborate with, do they, one, support your brand, or do they identify even with your brand? Because I see a lot of collaborations right now that make no sense. They just do it, and I'm like, you did all this, you spent all the money, you put all the people, time, and energy into this, and it falls flat. So the best way is like find people that are, one, advocates of what you're doing, or once you explain to them what they're doing, they're like, we can become ambassadors or allies in what you're doing, and then build campaigns and stories that stretch outside of this one moment, but have like longevity, and have that, let's say, creator come to the table and bring their ideas and their personality to be more into those campaigns. And that takes time. Like, it's not a rush job. And I see and hear a lot of things that are rushed. I'm like, no wonder it fell flat. Like, this had nothing to breathe on, and you just did you did like a social media post, and you thought that was going to change things. No, you like have you're working with this person, have them have them build a plan, capture content around it, build a story, bring people along. Like, so therefore it's not just like a one-time thing. What if they were like, this one-time thing leads to like 3 things, and there's 3 things that happen throughout the year that make sense for both parties, or they like the best case scenario, or the best thing I've seen of this is like Bud Light with Post Malone. Because I remember when I was working with Bud Light, and when Post Malone was like very early on in his career, I remember having a conversation and he was like, I love Bud Light. I was like, really? He's like, I love Bud Light. Love it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I didn't ultimately set up the meeting, but like, I got to hear how that was evolving, because like, still they took a risk on being like, Post Malone, who's this guy? White Iverson? I don't one great song, but like, is he going to have longevity? And they literally had him come to the table, he explained what he wanted to do, how they can be involved, and they took what, for all intents and purposes, looked like a 1-year partnership, and he's been with the brand for over 5 years now, because it was before the pandemic, and now he's like doing like dive bar shows with them. He's doing like NFL halftimes with them. He's got a Bud Light in hand, and he like will actively go out and they bring him on to like the commercials for Super Bowl and all these other spots, and he's like lives and breathes that ethos.
So his personality has evolved with the brand.
Correct.
Have reached a symbiosis.
Correct. And that's really like how partnerships need to going forward, because even now I feel like, I mean, I hear it from brands. They're like, we got to think smarter about how we do this, but we got to think smarter, because we can't just be giving this celebrity or this person the bag to go do it. Like, the things, we have budgets and we have things behind these budgets. We need to get the ROI out of this, but how can we build that responsibly and while also being creative with what we're doing, so we get to cut the noise, because there's so much noise out there and brands are competing for similar eyes in a way. So.
Okay, so again, we're kind of switch gears a little bit there. You've done meaningful inclusion work with Activision, Experiential, and color mentorship programs, and how do you bring inclusion into daily practice, not just policy?
Well, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work getting.
But is it hard work, or is it not hard? It's like the Dave Chappelle thing of like, it's like being black's hard, but also being black's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also like everybody wants to be black, but nobody wants to be black.
So there's like that. So like that's the real talk, like thing in there. Like we're really
like,
getting at it, right?
Like everybody,
there.
Yeah, I mean.
So how does that go in inclusion? Because then that ties into the whole tokenism and performative marketing, I think of that. And so when you go and bring it into it there, right, how do you do that in a real way to bring change and actually bring progress about? And not just doing that, just like bring people together, like they're a different thing. Because I mean, I think one thing that I want to touch on is like, you have a lot of different types of friends. And I think that in a way is a lot of inclusion in itself, right? But then all of a sudden bring those people together and having to find some sort of process that, but also then making space for women, for the LGBTQ plus community, for black people, like that, to have a seated table, and like that's when you're talking about community and relationships.
Yep.
So maybe let's go at it from that way.
Yeah. It starts with having honest conversations behind the scenes. It starts with that, I feel like. And then assessing what's going on here, And why is it looking this way? And especially if you're trying to go for this demographic. Well, I think gone are the days where like you can as a brand be like, we're preaching that. We're really preaching that or going for that. But then you look on the backside and you're like, there's nobody here that I can connect with that looks like me. Like there's nothing. And once I feel like brands or people have these conversations and can assess that, then they can start effectively invoking change behind the scenes to get those voices, those people in positions that can actually have a drag-on effect of creating equitable and incisive people at the table to build a diverse collection of thought leaders and thinkers and decision makers behind the scenes. I feel like we had a really good push of this during the 2020 to 2022, maybe even 2023 time period, and there was momentum growing. But I've seen at the brands that I work with how that has rolled back in a variety of ways that is just disheartening, to say the least. Now, they might say it's because of budgetary reasons or all this, but like we're in an interesting time where I don't think that's really it's not cutting it. And I feel like it's now for all these people that are, for the people that have been like, let's say, pushed out, per se. With all this happening, I feel like there's a movement of new things and new ideas and new businesses that are forming that are putting that at the heart of their business. And those new businesses are going to phase out the businesses of old that aren't practicing this in due time. I'm not going to say it's going to be an overnight revolution as we would all want it to be, but it's going to take time to get there. But they're going to set themselves up for the future better than some of these established companies and brands. And because, I mean, the youth today, I feel like is noticing.
Well, I think where you see that happening, right, and like the first place to really go there is entertainment, right?
Yes.
Because basically people like Issa Rae, people like Kevin Hart, people like Steph Curry, they're all creating their own production companies.
Correct.
Right? And so then all of a sudden they are doing that and they're making it a cornerstone of their business. And so however you look at that, whether it goes into cars or TVs or blenders or anything else that you're selling, kind of thing like that, right? I think it'll just start permeating into the ecosystem, and it's just going to take, it'll be longer, like that. But I think it's interesting when you start seeing that where people want to have like, almost like the dopamine hit of like kind of thing, and they just do like the quick performative thing to like, okay, we're here, we're with it. And then it doesn't become true inclusion, it becomes a trend.
Yes. I think no one's chasing trends is kind of over. You can't really do that much anymore.
Oh, I think chasing trends is going to be here to stay.
Really?
Like it's always going to be. It's always been a thing, right? Like it's always
Well,
been a part of the thing. I think what happens is people are quicker to sniff out and like trends, thing of that, and so the point of lasting is longer. I mean, I think trends are gonna come and go and things like that. I think that's where trends are always going to be there. Right? They're always going to be a part of commerce. So, for young talent, especially those from underrepresented communities, what should they know about internet industries like gaming, sports, experiential marketing?
There's not a clear-cut path to get into any of these industries anymore, which I think is good, because it used to be like you had to go to school and you had to then go into like a mailroom environment or entry-level environment, and you had to stand by these and to work with like a brand such as your Microsoft or or a CAA or that. And I'm like, there's so many opportunities for people to start their own thing and build their own audience or build their own viewpoint, and then build from that, build onto like then bringing in, let's say, a client or a partner or a brand that they want to work with or a brand that they want to work for at the same time. Like it's, especially with like events, like the one thing I tell people, especially people that want to get into experiential, I'm like, well, there's different avenues to you to get there. There's, like, I got in kind of through music. Well, no, I didn't get in kind of through music. I got in through music. I got in through music, and I got in through blogging. So, like, my path was there. I got to go to a bunch of music events and live events and seeing how things are. So, like, you could find, like, working with, like, an event-based company, like let's just say, for all intents and purposes, like a Live Nation or an AEG or an Insomniac. And then just, like, go in that front, understand what's going on from, like, all these experiences they're trying to build, because every one of them has their own kind of, like, brand guidelines for each of the things that they're putting on. Start connecting with people from, like, the AV side of things, connecting with people that are, like, agents and managers, or they have brand partners there. Strike up a conversation with someone that's on the production team. And that could be a great way of getting in the door to understand things. You start asking questions, you start having opinions on what's going on, and, like,
synergy.
Yeah, there's a synergy to it all, because then you start understanding what it takes to get things going, and then from there, like, you can start aligning, like, this is the brand that I'd want to work with, or this is, like, an artist I want to work with, or this is, like, a company that I want to work with. The age for entrepreneurship has never been stronger, I feel like. Like I say, like, if you have an opinion and you want to express it, you can do so in so many different ways to build an audience. And as long as you cultivate that audience, you find interesting ways of connecting with that audience, both in whatever platform you want to build that relationship with them. There's so much out there, I feel like, now. And it's not following one set path. It's following what you're comfortable with. One, what you're comfortable with doing, and two, what's authentic to you to build that out. Like,
fair enough.
You don't have to fake the funk or force it. Like, what's comfortable for you, and what are you willing to put in, because it's not overnight success. Like, it takes time. That's where that patience and persistence comes into play, and knowing when, like, you gotta put your head down and grind to get going and get it there. That really gets you further on having a career in this.
Awesome,
in
man.
these industries, I should say.
That pretty much wraps it up. Thank you so much for joining us on the Social Studies Show. If you enjoyed the Social Studies Show, please hit like and subscribe. If you found the information in the program relevant and insightful, copy the link, share it with your friends. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave a review. These small gestures help increase the awareness and growth of our show. Thank you.